UK variant of COVID-19. Economic managers say there's no more need for Bayanihan 3 if the government will push through with its plan to reopen the economy further. And perseverance pays off indeed. Check out the first colored photos of Mars transmitted by NASA's Perseverance rover. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. Kicking off today's newscast with several LGUs suspending classes and work today due to the heavy rainfall, strong winds brought by Tropical Depression Auring. These include Tacloban City, the town of Madridejos in Cebu, and the entire province of Romblon. Meanwhile, the city government of Tandag in Surigao del Sur has also suspended government and private work today. Tropical Depression Auring continues to weaken as it approaches the islands of Dinagat and Homonhon. Despite this, several areas in the country are still under Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal number 1. Among the areas under Signal number 1 are Sorsogon, Masbate including Ticao and Burias Islands, Albay, Catanduanes, and the eastern portion of Camarines Sur in Luzon. Over in Visayas, northern Samar, eastern Samar, Samar, Biliran, Leyte, and southern Leyte are also under Signal number 1. The same goes for Bohol, Cebu, Siquijor, the northern and eastern portions of Negros Oriental, the northern and central portions of Negros Occidental, the eastern portion of Iloilo, and the eastern portion of Capiz. Over in Mindanao, Signal number 1 is also raised in the Dinagat Islands, Surigao del Norte, the northern portion of Surigao del Sur, and Agusan del Norte, as well as in the northern portion of Agusan del Sur, the eastern portion of Misamis Oriental, and Camiguin. Residents of Surigao del Sur were evacuated over the weekend as Auring brought torrential rain over the area. Let's get more updates from Jem Avancenia. She is reporting live from Tandag City. Jem, good morning. Could you give us the situation over there?
Charles, the weather here in Tandag City, Surigao del Sur is beginning to improve this morning and the evacuees are starting to go back to their homes. This, however, is a far cry from yesterday's situation. Tropical Storm Auring flooded almost the entire city yesterday morning. More residents were forced to evacuate as floodwaters reached shoulder level. We've seen some residents this morning already cleaning their houses after floodwaters entered their homes. Most of them are not expecting such impact from Auring. Tandag River overflowed as a result of consistent rain due to the tropical cyclone. Same scenario happened in the town of Liangke yesterday. Families who refused to follow preemptive evacuation were rescued by the police, army personnel, and other government rescue teams. In a video sent to us by rescuer EJ Pocon, it could be seen how they successfully rescued a Lumad family in Barangay Diatagon. The team said it was not easy since they have to pass through a landslide area. They also noted that the rescue had become very risky as the current of the river was also strong at the time. Other towns in the province such as Caguait, Lanuza, and San Agustin were also affected by the flood. Charles, as of this time, we are still waiting for the response of the Civil Defense Office here in Caraga region about the number of the families affected and how huge is the damage of Bagyong Auring in the entire region. Charles?
Thanks for that, Jem. That was Jem Avancenia reporting live from Surigao del Sur. Auring brought heavy rainfall over parts of Mindanao over the weekend. Dinagat experienced strong winds and heavy rain due to the tropical cyclone. This resulted in flooding as well as landslides along national highways. As reported, Auring also caused massive flooding in Tandag City, Surigao del Sur. The LGU advised residents to coordinate with authorities for evacuation and emergency response. Over in Misamis Oriental, a dike collapsed due to the strong currents caused by the heavy rain brought about by Auring. The Budlingin Bridge in Alegria, Surigao del Norte was also damaged due to the heavy rain showers and flooding. Meanwhile, the Philippine Coast Guard says over 3,800 people are currently stranded in different ports across the country due to Auring. Health authorities in Central Visayas are calling for a 2-week case investigation on COVID-19 mutations that were detected in the area. This before they officially recommend the appropriate quarantine status for the region. Greg Gregorio with the story.
31 samples submitted for whole genome sequencing have shown 2 mutations with potential clinical significance. These mutations of SARS-CoV-2, called E484K and N501Y, were found in samples from Central Visayas. Dr. Cynthia Saloma of the Philippine Genome Center said these mutations are also seen in the UK and South African variants.
Na-associate nga nila yung may mga cases sa UK na talagang tumaas. At sa kanyang hallmark mutation is ito nga yung 501Y. Tapos lumabas din po yung researchers sa South Africa na mayroon po silang variant doon, which we now have this lineage assignment called B.1.351, na not only does it have the 501Y that was first reported by the UK researchers, meron din po siyang 484K.
Dr. Edsel Salvana, a member of the DOH Technical Advisory Group and the IATF's Technical Working Group on COVID-19 variants, allayed fears on these detected mutations.
Itong mga mutations na to, kumbaga, parang markers po sila. Doesn't mean the mutation itself can make something more transmissible or make something more deadly or wala na talaga yun sa vaccine.
Experts stressed the need for further investigation as health significance of the mutations is still unknown.
The more the virus circulates po, the more opportunity it has to change and acquire new mutations.
More samples will also be collected from the area of origin.
We need to gather more samples from different areas of Region 7, sequence them to find out if they also have the mutant strains. Because for all we know, they may not have it or they may have it.
Officials from Central Visayas are asking for 2 weeks to conduct case investigation before they can recommend the next appropriate quarantine status. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III explained that this will not affect the possibility of NCR shifting to MGCQ by next month.
Because, NCR is a different region, but we have to be really careful as we further relax our community quarantine status from GCQ to MGCQ. We have to scale up even more.
For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Vaccine supply issues continue to hound countries across the globe. But what happens if some of us miss our second dose? Let's listen to the World Health Organization knows so far on these dosage-related concerns.
Let's talk about the vaccine dosage. What is WHO's recommendation for how much time there should be between the 2 doses? And what if I can't make it to my second dose? Or what if I miss my second dose altogether?
This is an important question. There are so many vaccines now under development, and each of them is being given at slightly different dosing schedules. Most of the vaccines that are being developed need at least 2 doses, but there are some single-dose vaccine candidates as well. The interval between the doses depends on which vaccine you're getting, and the local authorities, the government, would have made a guideline and would inform you about when the second dose is due. Most of the 2-dose vaccines currently are being given between 3 to 4 weeks between the first and the second dose, but there is some data from some vaccines like the AstraZeneca vaccine where delaying the second dose go up to 12 weeks actually gives a better immune boost. Now, in terms of missing the second dose or being delayed, it's important to get the second dose if the vaccine is a 2-dose schedule. It doesn't matter if it's early by a few days or late by a few days or even a couple of weeks. It's important to go back and get that second dose because the first dose actually presents this new antigen to the immune system to prime it. And the second dose is the one that really gives a boost to the immune system so that the antibody response as well as the T-cell mediated response, they are very strong, and they also develop a memory response which then lasts for a long time, so that when the body sees this antigen again, this virus protein again, it knows that it needs to react quickly.
Soumya, can these two doses be from two different manufacturers?
Again, the science is changing and evolving, and the knowledge base is growing. There are now clinical trials ongoing in some countries that are looking at interchangeability, which means the first dose with one vaccine and the second dose with a different vaccine, maybe even a different platform vaccine. And there are immunologically, there are reasons why this would make sense. However, at the present time, there isn't enough data for us to recommend this type of interchangeable two-dose schedules. And so, for the time being, the policy advice that WHO has put out, which is the SAGE guidelines on how to use vaccines. We've done it for the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, the AstraZeneca vaccine, and currently SAGE is reviewing the data from the other vaccines that are in the pipeline. And so we need to follow what's in that policy advice. And for the time being, it is recommended to have the second dose with the same vaccine as you had the first dose.
Here are the biggest stories from the dailies. The Health Department has identified 18 more cases of the B117 or UK variant in the country. The Philippine Star reports that these new cases bring the total UK variant infections to 62. Of these new cases, 13 are returning overseas Filipinos, 3 are from the Cordillera Administrative Region, while 2 are still under verification. This from Business World, NEDA says there's no need for Congress to pass the Bayanihan to Arise as One Act, or Bayanihan 3, if the country will shift to modified GCQ. NEDA Acting Secretary Carl Chua explained that reopening the economy, fully implementing the Bayanihan 2, as well as the Fist and Create laws will be enough for the economy to recover faster. And Filipino Star ngayon reports that the number coding scheme will remain suspended even if Metro Manila will shift to MGCQ by next month. MMDA Chairman Benher Abalos says they don't see the need to lift the scheme suspension at the moment. But Abalos said the move is still possible should the traffic situation worsen as the economy starts to reopen further. After Mars rover Perseverance landed on Martian soil last week, it continues to do a good job of scouting the terrain. And over the weekend, Perseverance sent the first ever detailed and colored photos of the red planet. This as its buddy, the Ingenuity Mars helicopter, starts reporting for duty. Here's the rest of the story.
NASA's Mars rover Perseverance, the most advanced of its kind so far, has sent its first ever colored photos of the red planet. Perseverance Assistant Strategic Mission Manager Pauline Wang says the surface team immediately examined the photos of Martian rocks, as images from the rover offered a more detailed look at the alien land.
I'm happy to say that the rover is doing great and is healthy on the surface of Mars and continues to be highly functional and awesome, and I'm exhilarated. Yesterday we had 3 highly successful UHF relay passes where we sent data via our 3 different Mars orbiters.
The big question now is whether these rocks are volcanic rocks. According to Perseverance Deputy Project Scientist Katie Stack Morgan, these will greatly help in determining Martian geologic time.
So if these are volcanic rocks, we are incredibly excited about that from a Mars sample return perspective, because we can really nail that age date with a sample from a volcanic rock.
Perseverance streaked through the Martian atmosphere yesterday and landed safely on the Jezero crater, where it will search for traces of microbial life. This robotic vehicle traveled for almost 7 months before entering the red planet's atmosphere to begin its descent to the surface.
Here are the stories to watch out for later today. Several meat dealers in Metro Manila will have another round of pork holiday due to high hog prices. The Senate will be conducting its own investigation into the recent spike in the prices of basic goods. And we'll give you the latest on Tropical Depression Auring as Visayas and Mindanao prepare for landfall. And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us later at 10 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We're One News.